Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really fundamental, NAD plus nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
Quite a mouthful.
It really is, but don't let that scare you. Our sources, well, they paint a picture of this molecule as being absolutely critical. It's in every single cell.
Literally everyone.
And it seems to be popping up everywhere now, in
Yeah.
holistic health, anti-aging circles. It feels like it holds some real potential for long-term wellness.
Definitely a rising star.
So our mission today, dig into the research, the articles we've gathered, and pull out the key insights on NAD plus bed. Because honestly, who doesn't feel that dip in energy or clarity as time goes on?
What happens to all of us?
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, NAD plus is part of understanding why and what we can do about it. So, okay, first things first, let's unpack this. What exactly is NAD plus beta according to our notes? Why all the buzz?
Right. So at its core, it's a coenzyme. Think of it like a tiny helper molecule that's essential for life.
A helper for what, specifically?
Well, a few massive things, actually. It's key for converting the food you eat into energy.
Right.
Cellular respiration, that basic process.
The absolute foundation.
Precisely. And it activates these enzymes called sirtuins. You hear a lot about those with longevity and metabolism.
Ah, yes, so two ones. Okay.
Plus, it's involved in repairing damaged DNA, which is huge, and even helps regulate your body clock, your circadian rhythms.
Wow. Okay, so it's doing a lot behind the scenes. An orchestrator, like you said before we started.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
But if it's naturally there and so important, why the focus on decline? Does it just disappear?
Well, not disappear, but the levels definitely drop. And it's not just age, though that's a big factor. Our sources point to stress, poor diet,
Mhm.
environmental toxins.
Yeah.
They all chip away at it.
And when those levels drop, what happens? What do you feel?
That's where it gets relatable. That decline is linked pretty directly to common stuff like feeling tired all the time, brain fog,
Ugh, the brain fog, yes.
right? Weakened immunity, maybe feeling like you're aging a bit faster. It connects the dots for a lot of those subtle changes people notice.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's shift gears then. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. What are the actual benefits our sources highlight if you manage to boost those NAD levels back up? Let's start with energy.
Yes, energy is a big one because NAD plus isn't just involved in making energy in your mitochondria, those cellular powerhouses.
Yeah.
It's absolutely essential, like the spark plug.
Gotcha. So low NAD means the engines are sputtering.
Exactly. You feel that fatigue. The research we looked at suggests that supplementing with NAD precursors, things like NMN or NR, helps your body ramp up ATP production.
ATP being the actual energy currency cells use.
Correct. So the outcome is less fatigue, more stamina, potentially better exercise performance. It's like recharging your internal batteries on a cellular level.
Okay, recharging the batteries, I like that. Now, beyond physical energy, the cognitive side really stood out in the materials. What's the link there?
It's pretty profound, actually. The sources suggest low NAD often correlates with cognitive decline. Boosting it seems to help clear that brain fog we mentioned.
Sharper focus, better memory.
That's what the studies indicate, yeah. Improved memory, focus, and even potentially offering some neuroprotection against diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Neuroprotection is huge.
It is. And there was this really intriguing point in some of the research suggesting NAD plus might even help regenerate brain cells. It seems to activate something called BDNF.
EDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often called miracle grow for the brain, right?
That's the one. So the idea that NAD plus could stimulate that is, well, pretty exciting.
Definitely exciting. But let's talk about the aging aspect. Activating sirtuins, promoting longevity. It
Yeah.
sounds almost too good to be true. What's the realistic picture here from the sources?
Yeah, it's important to be realistic. It's not about finding a literal fountain of youth, but the link to healthy aging seems strong.
Healthy aging, meaning
Meaning supporting the body's natural processes to maintain function longer. Those sirtuins, NAD plus, activates. They help regulate things at the cellular level that go wrong as we age.
So what kind of improvements might someone see based on the readings?
The consensus suggests things like better skin elasticity,
Mm-hmm.
potentially reduced inflammation, which is a key driver of aging, improved DNA repair, and slowing down something called cellular senescence.
Senescence. That's when cells basically get old and stop dividing
Right,
and can cause problems.
exactly. They hang around and contribute to aging. So boosting NAD might help put the brakes on that, extending your health span the years you spend in good health.
Health span, not just lifespan. That's a key distinction. Okay, and what about metabolic health? That came up too.
Yes, very connected. NAD plus plays a role in how sensitive your body is to insulin, how it handles fats, even regulating cholesterol.
So this could be relevant for people managing things like type 2 diabetes or maybe obesity.
Definitely. The sources suggest NAD supplements could be quite helpful in those situations, helping the body manage energy use and storage more efficiently. It's about optimizing that whole metabolic balance.
It really seems to touch so many systems. And the last benefit mentioned was detox and DNA repair. How does NAD fit into that?
Right, this ties back to protecting the cell. NAD plus is needed to activate certain enzymes. PRPs are a key group. These guys are crucial for fixing DNA damage.
Which, as you said, happens constantly.
All the time, from UV rays, pollution, just metabolic byproducts. PIPs, fueled by NAD plus handling, help repair that damage. They also aid in detoxification pathways and fight oxidative stress, so NAD helps keep the cellular machinery clean and running smoothly.
Wow. Okay, so it's clear NAD plus is incredibly important. Which brings us to the big question. How can we actually increase our levels? What did the sources say about practical steps?
Good question. There are a few main routes. Supplementation is obviously a popular one.
What kinds of supplements?
The most common ones highlighted were nicotinamide riboside, or NR, that one's pretty well studied, and nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, seen as quite effective, bioavailable.
Okay, NR and NMN. Any others?
Yes, there's also intravenous, or IV NAD plus therapy. That's usually more for rapid replenishment, often in clinical settings. And then topical NAD plus serums are becoming popular for skincare, targeting anti-aging directly on the skin.
Interesting. So who should really be considering these supplements based on the material?
Well, the sources suggest it could benefit most adults, but particularly those over 35 or so, people dealing with chronic fatigue or that stubborn brain fog.
Makes sense.
Athletes looking for performance and recovery support too. And importantly, individuals managing metabolic health concerns, like we discussed.
Right. But there's always a caveat with supplements, isn't there?
Absolutely. And this is critical. The sources were unanimous on this. Always talk to your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, especially NAD plus med. Well, just because it affects so many core processes, you need to be sure it's right for you, particularly if you're pregnant, nursing, or on any medications. It could interact. Safety first.
Crucial advice. Okay, but what about non-supplement approaches? Can we boost NAD naturally?
Yes, definitely. And it's interesting, like you said earlier, how these often align with general healthy habits.
Like what?
Intermittent fasting came up as a way to potentially stimulate NAD plus production. Exercise is another one, especially high-intensity interval training, HIIT.
HIIT gets mentioned a lot for cellular health.
It does. Diet plays a role too. Eating foods rich in niacin, which the body uses to make NAD, can help. Things like mushrooms, avocados, peanuts, tuna are good sources.
Okay, things we can add in, anything to avoid.
Yes, minimizing alcohol and processed sugar seems important, as they could apparently deplete NAD levels, so it's both adding the good and reducing the bad.
Right, the usual suspects often have wider impacts than we realize. Okay, so wrapping this up. NAD Plus seems like a really compelling piece of the health puzzle.
It really does.
The potential benefits for energy, mental clarity, healthier aging, metabolic function, it's quite a list. While, research is always evolving, the evidence we reviewed, plus the anecdotal reports, suggests boosting NAD could really be significant for your overall wellness journey.
It certainly makes you think, doesn't it? If just one molecule like NAD plus is so fundamental to our cellular vitality, it raises an important question. What other hidden aspects of our internal biology might be ripe for exploration in our pursuit of overall well-being?
That's a fantastic thought to leave everyone with. Really highlights how much more there might be to discover within ourselves. We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights into NAD+, and maybe spark some ideas for your own health path. Thanks for joining us.